if this is a massive failure, I'll take responsibility for it. But because I was the one that pushed it, the creation of this video match official, I think over time, once people get over the initial, we can't afford it, we can't do this, we couldn't afford a fourth official way back when too, right? And I think that person is going to help out with not only assisting with the video review, but the video operations.
Yeah.
Because remember, the home team is doing it in a college, where in pro or whatever, that's a neutral body that's running those things, right? So it kind of helps adjudicate, so everyone feels that that's being run efficiently as well, right?
We have got an amazing podcast for you today. Rare, it happens, but we're going to have a guest come on for the second time ever in the history of the Refs Need Love To podcast. We've got John Collins, the NCAA Director of Officiating. He's also really big involved in Connecticut and U.S. soccer and with pro as well as a talent scout and assessor. If you've met John, you will love John. He is absolutely fantastic. So we're going to do that. But real briefly, before we get into that, I wanted to share a little bit of the last couple days in my life. If you don't know, the new U.S. Soccer National Training Center was opened up literally like 5 miles from my house, a 15-minute drive, because it's not a straight drive on over there, but 5 miles as the crow flies. And it's exquisite. It is everything you could possibly hope U.S. Soccer's headquarters would be. I mean, yes, the fields are amazing. All of the grass pitches, the turf pitches, the beach pitches, the indoor turf pitch, the beach courts are unbelievable. The parquet courts for power and futsal are unbelievable. It's amazing. The office space, unbelievable. The conference space, unbelievable. The cafeteria, unbelievable. Everything is gorgeous. We as a soccer association can't knock it better. I don't know how to say it without a negative. There's no way that we cannot improve as a country around the beautiful game through this complex. I mean, just this weekend is a perfect example. So many of the extended national teams were here for an event called Adapt and Thrive. So our men's and women's deaf national teams, our men's and women's cerebral palsy teams, our power wheelchair team was here. It was just so cool. And they were all here supporting each other, playing games, having friendlies against other teams, inter-squad scrimmages. They also have major tournaments that they're preparing for. So the World Cup for cerebral palsy for men is going to be in October at this complex at the U.S. headquarters. The World Cup for power wheelchair is going to be down in Argentina in October, which is so cool. It's just so many amazing things are happening, but they're coming and they're competing for spots on the team. But it's also they're communing. I don't even know if that's a word, but to see the deaf national team together and the camaraderie they have, the men's team, the women's team, the cerebral palsy team, the power wheelchair team, it is just so freaking cool. And to be doing it at this amazing facility that is theirs, unreal, absolutely unreal. So Thursday, I got to go to watch the cerebral palsy men's national team play Scotland's cerebral palsy team, and we crushed them 7-1. It was very cool. One of my son's friends is on that team. They go to Clemson together. I've met him before, and he invited me to come watch. His mother and brother were there. It was just so amazing. So I'm standing there, and I'm watching this game, and obviously I'm very interested in the referees. By the way, the fourth official for this match was JT Batson, the CEO of U.S. Soccer. That's right, in his referee kit. It was so cool to see. But I'm watching it, and I'm noticing some variations on play, some rules of competition that were unique for cerebral palsy. So one thing that was unique was throw-ins in particular. You're not required to have a throw-in overhead because some people have limited ability of use of their arms. So you can actually roll the ball in as long as it touches the ground within 3 feet of the touch line as you roll it in underhand, if you will. So I wanted to learn more. So the power wheelchair team was sitting right next to me on the touch line. And so I just started talking to one of the guys. And then one of the other guys was like, oh my gosh, I follow you on TikTok, whatever. It was like, oh, so cool. But I'm talking to them about laws of the game and accommodations for cerebral palsy. And they were telling me what they know. And another gentleman who was with them, this guy, Jonathan, was like, hey, are you a referee? I'm like, yeah, I am. He's like, have you ever thought about refereeing power wheelchair? And I'm like, no, but I'd love to learn. And so he's like, well, we're going to be doing a training soon. Why don't you come watch? I'm like, sure. So I go, I leave the cerebral palsy match at halftime. I go up to the main court area inside the headquarters. And it's this beautiful, huge, gorgeous indoor court area, like amazing for futsal and for power wheelchair. And I'm watching them practice, and they're doing drills and stuff. And I walk up to the gentleman who invited me up, and he starts telling me about some of the different rules or laws of the game for power wheelchair. And yeah, I'm very interested. Me, I love reffing. I love learning. And obviously, this is really cool. I've never seen anything like this before. If you've never seen power wheelchair, look it up. It is so awesome and so interesting. And so he's like, hey man, if you want to be a ref, like you're serious about it, why don't you come back on Saturday when we're doing a training and I'll teach you how to be a ref. I'm like, sure. So I went back there on Saturday and I showed up well in advance, and I got to be an assistant referee for their intra-squad scrimmage. And so they're competing because they have a World Cup for power wheelchair happening in Argentina this October. So they were doing matches to see who's going to make the team. They had 12 people there, only 8 can make the team. And it was really cool. I mean, again, calling directions for goal kicks and corner kicks and for quote unquote kick-ins. So they don't do a throw-in, they do a kick-in. But learning about some of the other rules in the game that help them open up the court a little bit more. They call it 2-on-1. And it was just absolutely fascinating. But I got to meet the families of these people, the people who came with the athletes to help them while they were there. I got to meet the coaching staff. And I just got to know the players, the competitors. And they're just so cool. I know it's self-serving to say how inspiring these people are, and they don't want to be seen as poster children for inspiration. They want to be seen as competitors. Dude, I freaking get that. And I don't think it's a disservice to say that I walk away from this being like, man, I'm inspired by that. But I'm also like overjoyed that I've gotten to meet these new people. I mean, part of the reason why I love being a referee is because I get to meet people all the time and hang out with people I would normally never get to. How big is my friend group, right? I'm a 51-year-old man, okay? I'm not going out during the week and partying, okay? I'm not going out on the weekends at the bars and stuff and meeting new people. No. I've got my wife, I've got my kids, I've got a few close friends, some friends from high school, some friends from college, a couple guys here in the local area. We play cards like once a month or once every 2 months. That's it. That's it. But I get to go to this event. And now I've made 3 new friends who play on this power wheelchair team that like I can hang out and talk to. Like I've got a really good friend in England I've talked a bunch about, and I've had him on the podcast, Nathan Maddock, who was the first wheelchair referee certified in England. I would never have gotten to meet Nathan if I had not become a referee and started this channel, certainly. I would never have gotten to meet these athletes on Saturday had I not been willing to go learn how to be a referee for power wheelchair. And it just opens up so many doors. So I talked to all these different people. Yes, I got to meet the CEO of US Soccer again. I got to meet Cindy Parlow again, and her son and me and my daughter were driving around some of the power wheelchairs and scrimmaging after their practice on Saturday. You meet all these wonderful people through refereeing. How cool is that? So I'm at this event on Saturday, learning how to be a power wheelchair referee, and I wind up walking next to a guy who turns out he's like the operations manager for the extended teams at US Soccer. And so he like coordinates facilities for him, gets things clean, gets food, all the stuff, operations, travel, logistics. And he's like, hey, we're doing an intra-squad scrimmage for the deaf women's national team tomorrow. Do you want to referee that? I'm like, absolutely, let me know. And so I got assigned to be the referee for the deaf women's national team. How amazing. Like, how unbelievably cool. So on Saturday, when I got home from the power wheelchair, I have my new Macron kit waiting for me because they've sent me, the people who do uniforms for the MLS, CONCACAF, and UEFA, they sent me a couple of uniforms that I could wear when I go to World Cup Fan Fest and World Cup games this year. It's amazing, like bright blue. Look on my Instagram and TikTok from today. You'll see it. It's gorgeous. And so I got this, and I knew I was going to be the only referee. They weren't going to have assistant referees. It was just an intra-squad scrimmage. And so I'm going to wear my brand new Macron kit, and it is gorgeous. Oh my gosh, I cannot wait until these people start doing USSF kits. So I put the kit up on Sunday morning, and I go over to US Soccer to go officiate this deaf national team match. And it's different. I mean, it's not the same. You've got people who are completely deaf out there, completely deaf. Now, some people have a little bit of hearing, but most of the people on those teams, they had taken their cochlear implants out for this game. Some people even put earplugs in to completely silence all sound, which I didn't totally understand that and why they do that. I need to do some more research. But as a referee, your whistle, it doesn't necessarily stop play. Your words don't necessarily have impact. So you carry a flag and a whistle and you use that to stop play. And then when people see the flag, everyone puts their hands up to get everyone to stop play as well. So very interesting experience, really cool, unbelievably talented players out there. I mean, again, just because you're deaf doesn't mean you can't be an outrageously talented athlete. I mean, there was one girl on the pitch yesterday where I swear it was like watching Rose Lavelle on the U.S. women's national team. Like, she was that good. She had such vision, such high soccer IQ, great close control, can make people miss, really creative player. I mean, it was just so awesome that I got to do this. And I got to meet a couple people who are friends of the channel and wanted to take pictures afterwards and everything. I just, how cool is this that the headquarters for U.S. Soccer is literally 5 miles from my house? I mean, this was just the first weekend of that place being open. And I can't even imagine how many more cool experiences I'm going to get to have because we have access to this amazing facility. So, my gosh. I mean, I am just on a high. I got to tell you, life is good. Life is good. Hey, before we get into John's podcast, just real quickly, guys, reminder, please support the Refs Need Love To store online. Flags, cards, pro grip socks, everything. Please treat yourself for Father's Day, even if someone else has given you like a mug or something that you really don't need, like another $25 Amazon gift card. Support the Refs Need Love To store online. If you're getting new shoes or you need new shoes, invest in Umpiros, UMPIRO. Again, the best referee shoe in the world. Refer Sports. Again, if you're an assigner, please, or you know an assigner, please reach out to Refer. Tell them I sent you. You will not be sad. If you're thinking about comms, okay, big Father's Day gift. You want to get your own set of comms. Spinso. I kid you not. I have the cheap motorcycle headsets one. They suck. Get yourself some Spinso Pro Comms. They're unbelievable. SPINTSO. Use my code RefsNeedLove2 for 10% off. You will not be sorry. I promise you. All right, guys, enough from me. I love you all. Hopefully I'll talk with you again soon. I don't have another podcast in the hopper for another couple weeks or so. But if I don't talk to you, I will hopefully see you at the World Cup. I'm going to 5 different cities. I'm going to Philly, New York, Boston, Kansas City, here in Atlanta, and then back to Boston again. I think I said 4 cities, but I know I'm going to 5. Who knows where the 5th one is? Again, looking forward to seeing you guys out there, and I'll talk to you soon. Hello, and welcome to the Refs Need Love To podcast, a show that gets real, raw, and behind the scenes with the hardest job on the pitch, the referee. I'm your host, David Gerson, a grassroots referee and mentor for over 11 years and over 1,500 matches and some college matches under my belt too. And today, guys, we have a very special guest making a second appearance on the pod. John Collins, the National Coordinator of Soccer Officials, which, by the way, little known fact, is the largest group of officials in the NCAA. That's right, even bigger than American football or baseball. They've got the biggest job. He oversees all the communication amongst officials, conference coordinators, coaches, the national office staff, and he provides consistency in the interpretation of the NCAA rules and mechanics, and he evaluates referees. He doesn't just do it for the NCAA, he also is an assessor for the professional ranks, where he's evaluated match officials in the MLS, in NWSL, United Soccer League since 2017, working for the professional referee organization. He also continues to serve the U.S. Soccer Federation as an assessor and instructor as a national referee coach. And by the way, his playing career, he was a goalkeeper at the Division I level. Okay, so again, goalkeepers make the best referees and assessors. Case in point, John Collins, welcome to the pod.
Hey, that was quite a welcome. Thank you so much. It's great to see you. It was great to see you in Philadelphia. We had a chance to get together and meet, and I think I picked on you a little bit in the session I was running, so you were very gracious with that. So it's always nice to come and support and all the things you're doing with the 99% of the referee population. And you sold yourself short. You were a very active high school referee, and I know that's one of your passions, so don't forget to mention that.
I love high school. We just finished our high school season. It was by far, again, every year I do high school, I fall in love with it more and more. It's a weird thing for me where it's just that level of game and that age group is just, I just fit great there, right? Like I am the absolutely the right fitness to be there. I understand the assignment. Like I understand what people are looking for in a high school referee in terms of making sure that keeping it safe, keeping it fun, keeping it wide open, whatnot. Let's not have a bunch of crazy fights on that pitch or anything like that, which I think is a good general rule for all grassroots referees. But I think high school in particular has a bad reputation of that being a lot of older referees, right? You don't normally get I'd say your younger referees out there just due to time commitments and jobs and commuting to the field and getting there for a 4:30 kickoff in the middle of the week and crazy Atlanta traffic. You've got a lot of older gentlemen. And I'm just going to say that as a generalization out there. So I love being able to give the respect to that game and give them a good referee for that match so that they can focus on the players play, the coaches coach, and the spectators spectate because they feel confident they have a good referee out there. So it's a lot of fun. I enjoy it. I look forward to it every year.
Yeah. High school soccer is an important part of the ecosystem and in referee development. It's a really important for many referees, both the younger, less experienced up and coming referees and also the more veteran officials that are staying with the modern game, right? That's for many, that's their highest level. And I think what you'll find is intercollegiate and interscholastic, anytime you're on a campus, right? It makes you feel young, right? It makes you feel you feel like an educator, even though that's not your primary goal, but being a part of that process I've always viewed that to be a privilege. Us young farts, I'm just thankful to be part of it, right? It's good oxygen when you get on campus with young people that are going to lead this country in all sorts of different ways at some point, right? And save us all.
Absolutely. And I think it's interesting you talk about the game management piece. Some of those coaches at the high school level can be the most difficult coaches that you have to manage. They're not necessarily academy coaches or have any background as an academy coach. They don't necessarily have a deep understanding of the game or strategy. And sometimes all they know to do, the only thing they know how to do is to yell at a referee and argue calls and stuff. And if you can create a good positive working relationship with them and learn how to manage them. And then also the same thing with players too, where you've got an outrageous amount of, for the boys, testosterone, and just for both boys and girls, I want to say a lot of hormones at that age. And you've got their friends watching in the stands and probably more fans than they'd ever see at a club game. And also a lot of personal stuff where these teams play each other every single year. You have the rivalries. If you can manage that, you can pretty comfortably go into any grassroots environment and manage those environments too. So I do think it is a good training ground for a referee.
It's a good place to develop your game management, interaction with participants, and your referee personality, right? That's a wonderful area of the game to do it. And so I love when people like you, just to pick on you, have such a passion for, I know, working at that level. And so that's great.
Yeah, it's exciting. John, we've got some big topics to discuss today. So the NCAA soccer, has implemented some of the biggest changes that I've ever seen, let's just say in a league from season to season ever. Every year in IFAB, we get a couple law changes. The Premier League gives different guidance to referees. These are fundamental changes that are coming to NCAA soccer that really changes the landscape in a number of ways, or what it looks like and how it feels and when it happens and all that kind of stuff. So we're going to talk through some of those things today because college soccer is a big piece as well. And it's becoming more and more professionalized. The level of play is getting higher and higher. It's starting to become much more recognized on campuses as a potentially a money driving sport and a viewing driving sport. And because again, so many boys and girls are now growing up playing soccer. They're seeking out soccer when they're going off to college to go experience it as a spectator. Every game is televised now. So this is some big stuff. So before we get into specifics, 30,000 foot view, what's the single biggest change that's happening to NCAA soccer next season? And how is that going to officiate the people, or how is it going to affect the people officiating it?
So I would say at the Division I level, it's technically for all levels, but primarily utilized at the Division I level. This is what's called a permissive rule. It's not required, but the use of video review in games, right?
Ooh.
So when you use video review, mostly Division I conferences use it, some Division II and some Division III use it, but for the most part, it's mostly Division I. And so the rule has now been changed on who can initiate the video review. Prior to this season, the referee would be responsible for the initiating the video review and under a certain amount of things. A penalty kick, no penalty kick, red card, no red card for violent conduct or serious foul play, and those kinds of things. And offside, that leads to a goal, those kinds of things. So now to get in line with the rest of the NCAA, and also acknowledging, I think, the fact that we don't have an automatic designated video match official, although that's been added this year as well as an option. We are moving to the challenge system. So the majority or the vast majority of video reviews will be initiated by the coach, and each team gets 2 challenges. It doesn't matter whether you're successful or not, you get 2. And then in the last 10 minutes of the game, if you're out of challenges, there's a safety net, an insurance policy, where if the referee feels that there's an important decision that's reviewable, like a penalty kick that needs to be reviewed, the referee can initiate then and only then for those big challenges. A little nuance is the referee can always initiate a video review for timing issues and whether the ball has crossed the goal line for a goal. But penalty kick, no penalty kick, red card, no red card, serious foul play or violent conduct, offside, leading into a goal, those have to be challenged unless you've utilized your challenges and the referee chooses to initiate in the last 10 minutes. And that spawns out of an experiment that was done last year with a handful of conferences where we trialed this, and the committees have come back and voted in that favor. And honestly, I support it. I think what you're going to find is the struggle we had with our prior system is that not an independent person was recommending the challenge. So the referee would basically have to decide to review their own work, right? Which leads to basically everybody yelling and screaming, review the thing, review the decision anyway. And what we find is, based on cultural nuances within conferences and whatnot, and conferences that have invested in technology, the referees were being initiated or instructed to go to the monitor more than not. And now we have 10 reviews in a game, and they're taking forever.
Let me tell you, man, I just wanted to say that, again, just point out one little detail that you said that I don't think people understand, again, is that historically, for most of the games that have had this video review in the college level, there is not a VAR, an assistant VAR, and a video operator, which is what Pro has. So they've got 3 people sitting someplace with 20 different screens looking at everything in real time, and then they recommend for a referee to go review. What has historically been is that if the referee decides that they need to go look at something a second time, so they're unsure, maybe their assistant is, hey, you probably want to go look at that one more time, then they go to some little viewing area on the side of the field. They put headphones on. They have like a little joystick thing where they're trying to get a view. They don't have 20 different video angles at most of these games. Maybe they have 2 or 3, maybe there's 4, I don't know. And then they're having to find that moment in time in the game and zoom or stop or so on. It takes a lot of time. I've watched a couple games personally at Clemson where my son goes, and a video review could take 15 minutes.
Yeah. And so just to put things in perspective, and we probably touched upon it last year when I was on with you, but it warrants worth repeating. So like you said, in a professional game or an MLS game, NWSL, whatever, you have VAR, which stands for video assistant referee. You have someone in the booth and an assistant video assistant referee, and then a video review operator or replay operator. Excuse me. And so in MLS, just to pick on MLS, when a referee is recommended and they go to the monitor for an on-field review, 9 times out of 10 or even higher, 90+%, they're going to overturn their decision. And the reason is it's already been reviewed. You missed something that's significant here. Clear and obvious is the standard at the professional level. Significant video evidence, irrefutable video evidence is our standard thing. What you don't know is the number of times in the game where the video assistant referee has told the referee, check complete, meaning we've checked the PK with no PK. We're good. Keep going. Right. And every now and then you'll see a referee at the professional level say, hold on, hold the restart, and point to their ear. because they're checking.
Yeah.
And then as soon as the check is done, then they continue. In the college game, we didn't have that, right? So you had to decide, I need to go look at this, and then you're going to go look at it. Maybe the video operation takes a little longer than you would think in the pros, to your point. But at the end of the day, the referee would come out. Maybe they do 6 or 7 or 8 reviews in a game, and they're all check complete because I just confirmed what I think I saw, right? Because I felt pressure or some directive, or I understand the conferences spend a lot of money on video technology. The people pushing the spreadsheet say, hey, make sure we're using technology, right? So what this is, the challenge system, at least in soccer, is modeled after what's called video support with FIFA, right? So if you go to the under 20 World Cup or the under 17 World Cup, they do not have video assistant referees per se in those competitions. And they've trialed this over the last handful of years. And it is a challenge system where the coach will challenge and then that initiates the video review process, right? The biggest thing I think that's important about this is at the end of the day, because we tell referees, don't referee to the video. Referee, get the decision right. Do everything you can. You got to assume the video is not going to work. There's going to be a malfunction or something, right? Yeah. And this takes the pressure off of them reviewing their own work per se up until the last 10 minutes. And we'll see what happens with that, right? But at least now you have an independent person saying, I'd like you to review this, right? And it's limited. It's
independent, they're biased, highly biased person advocating for the deal. Independent is probably the wrong word, John. Someone other than the referee. I'll say that.
Fair enough. Well, at the end of the day, if someone's screaming it's a penalty kick, great. Put some money where your mouth is. Throw the challenge, right?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll go look at it. And I think that once the coaches get used to it, I think they'll understand it a little more. It's very similar to other sports in the NCAA. So the athletic departments get that. And again, we have some data based on the experiment that we did last year with this. And so it's not like this is being made up from scratch. There's data and those kinds of things. And honestly, game timing is becoming an issue when you have too many challenges that shouldn't be, or too many reviews, I should say, that aren't really reviewable, right? You really want to, if you're initiating a review on yourself, you're only reviewing when you don't have the angle that you really wish you had. You're not reviewing it because we tell people don't review just for the sake of placating people, but human beings are human beings, right?
Let me ask you this question about the review. And I don't think this is still the case anymore in the Premier League. I thought it was, but want to understand Premier League guidance, PGMOL, to the VR officials, and I think this was done in MLS, is they didn't want referees looking at things in slow motion. You could use slow-mo and stop motion to see contact point. Is it studs to the ankle or shin, or is it not? Okay, that's one thing. But they didn't want everyone slowing everything down, because you and I both know when you slow-mo a challenge, it makes everything look so much worse than it is in real time. So is there specific guidance given to, I just want to say, I get clips sent to me every single day, like all the time, asking me about challenges, or is this a penalty kick, is it not? And as soon as they send me the clip and I see it's in slow-mo, I just disregard it. I'm like, send it back to me in real time, because it changes how everything looks. So is there guidance being given to the referees as to when they go look at this, that they're just looking at it in real time, in real speed, or can they slow it down and take it into 60 frames a second? What's the deal on that?
So my understanding is everywhere in the world, and my experience at the professional level is with pro and what those people do. And as an assessor, we actually don't assess the video review component of the game. And it's the same for the NCAA referees. If you watch or actually listen to an on-field review and a referee is talking to a video review operator, they will always want to make sure. They might slow it down. They say, I want to slow it down here. Show me the point of contact. Okay, now play at 75% speed. Okay, now play at 100% speed, right? Because they will never, almost never, I never want to say never, but they will almost never come out of a review without watching it at full speed. Because think about it this way too, or at least the way I think about it. And again, I'm an older referee that hasn't been on the field for a bunch of years. So I never refereed with video review. But the reality is the referee has to reconcile what they saw or what they think they saw to what they're now looking at, right? And part of that reconciliation and the check on that, for me, it's the starting point and the end point. The starting point is it should be usually full speed or 3/4 speed. And they always want to reconcile, okay, that makes sense based on all the slowing down or even the still frames sometimes are the worst, right? The still frames are the worst. Everything looks awful. I think when you slow it down, that helps you get the considerations and the components that lead into a more analytical decision on video, but you still need that real-time speed to reconcile and make sure that makes sense in context with the decision that was made on the field. And if the referee would say, yes, now I'm seeing it differently in real speed, now that I've had a chance to slow down the components which make up the considerations. I don't know if that makes sense. But.
Yeah, no, it does. So I do want to ask this question. So like, I know if you're a professional referee, or you're in pro, or you're in PGMOL, or the KNVB in the Netherlands, or something like that, as a professional ref, you're spending time, weeks at a time, potentially going to trainings at headquarters, getting dedicated training about how to be a video assistant referee. And there's a skill set. And I've had Greg Vaney on the podcast, and he's talked about it. There are some people who are good video review refs and some people are not. Now we're asking these referees who might be great referees in college to also be a video review referee. So is there specific training that's going to be done for them to help them become good video review people?
That's an excellent question. And I think the answer is we're moving that way. There's going to be more and more training on that. The other thing you're going to see, slightly different in our sport, but last summer I was at the summer summit with all the NCAA national coordinators, every sport. We're all in the same room. Women's water polo, American football, women's basketball, golf, we're all in the same group. And one of the things across the board is what they're calling the replay officials in other sports. They want to make a move to making those active officials, not retired people that are not necessarily. There could be some former officials, but they want to make sure the active officials have that skill set and is part of their development. And so we're not quite there yet because we don't use a video match official yet per se. Although one of the changes is a video match official has been created. It's optional. I don't know that anyone will use it. I'll push to see if we can use it in the NCAA tournament, maybe at the College Cup or something. Right. But it's now in the rule book and the NCAA, so we can start thinking about that. If that catches on, I'm always afraid with technology that if you don't try to keep up, you'll be so far behind. Right. And good luck with that. So I want to make sure that we have that spot in the book now. And as technology advances, progresses, gets better, whatever, if our game determines that we need that, then we'll have that defined and we'll figure out a way to get that implemented. But it's actually in the rule book now. And I think across the board and the NCAA side, the push is that, or at least the ask is from the people above, is to make sure that people serving in that replay role or that video match official role, as we call it in soccer now, that those people, that we try to make sure we use as many active officials as we can in that role versus just retired people that are making, for example, if you look at another sport, I'm not going to name names, but you look at another sport and it goes to the challenge that is given, that goes to someone sitting in a room somewhere and they radio in the decision. The on-field official or umpire doesn't really have a say. So you can see why they would want active current people that are in the thick of this and have the current experience of the modern game that are helping with those decisions. So I think video review, it's a part of our game in the college system. I think it'll expand now. More colleges will take it up, especially on the D1 side. I think the challenge system gives a little more ownership or involvement to the coaching staff. So, hey, you're part of this. You think we made a massive decision? Please, by all means, we'll take a look at it. Just tell us, right? And that's a collaboration, for lack of a better word. Mm-hmm. And the more important thing with video review is that we cleaned up at least what we thought were some things that were missing for things that can be reviewed, right? And specifically attacker fouls, attacker infractions. So if you had the Maradona hand of God, punching the ball into the goal, we could not review that on the NCAA. Crazy. For whatever reason, the committee 2 years ago were not ready for that. So we now have added attacker fouls and infractions that lead to a goal, penalty kick, or dog zone.
Yeah, I love that. I know there was one specific situation. I think you and I even chatted about it. I know my buddy Leland Grant and I chatted about a situation where there was a clear and obvious attacker handball goal. There's ball comes off the attacker's hand. It would have been an accidental, but still, it's an attacker scoring a goal immediately after a handball. Therefore, it's a handball offense. But there's nothing in the There was no ability previously for the referee on their own to bring that to a video review or anyone to even recommend a video review. So I think that's a really good change. It's common sense.
And in that situation, I always call it like a VAR or a video review decision, right? Oh, sure, it's clear to us watching it in slow-mo,
Yes.
whatever. Referee who actually has been working very hard and has done a very good job, just unlucky, does not get it.
Doesn't have the right angle, someone's blocking it, whatever.
And then feels terrible that he or she can't fix it. And that was a remaining loophole. So we've closed that gap. So honest, big decisions, basically,
Yes.
we can get them right. The method in which that's initiated now is more in line with what I would call the rest of the NCAA and honestly FIFA video support, which is used at the international competitions that don't have VARs, right? And so I think it'll be good. I think it'll be good for the game.
Yeah.
I think you're not going to see 10 challenges in a game, and you're not going to see an overabundance of reviews where nothing gets overturned and the game just got added another 30 or 40 minutes, which is not helpful. I think you expressed you were at a game in South Carolina or something where...
Oh, yeah. Well, that was one 15-minute review. In that game, there was like 3 reviews. So we're talking like 40 minutes of... I was watching this game on television, a big game for Clemson, and I'm at my house, so I can get up, take a walk around, go get a drink or snack to add to my dad bod. But my son is sitting in the stands at this game, and he's texting me like, what is going on? What are they showing? And I'm giving him my opinion based on what I'm seeing and what they're showing on the replays there, but they're not showing it in the stadium. The fans are sitting around wondering what's going on. It takes a long time for the referee to look that stuff up. So I just think it needs to be carefully managed because you don't want to ruin the fan experience. You don't want to ruin the viewer experience. Yeah, we want to get calls right, but it's a challenge if you're not going to have that extra video review official who can cue things up for the referee and have it good to go with the right angle. Here's the thing. You put all of that on the ref. It takes time to get that video queued up. They got to figure it out. It could harm the game from a spectator standpoint. We might be more accurate, but it's going to need to be carefully watched. That's all I'll say about that.
The last thing on this, and then we can move on to, because there are a couple other things that are worth talking about. One is I'm making a personal plea to the men's and women's oversight committees in Division I and anyone who will listen to me. And maybe that's nobody, but there's a concept in the NCAA rules describe this governing sports authority, right? So in a conference game in the Big East, it's a Big East conference game. They're the governing sports authority. The NCAA is only the governing sports authority when we get to the NCAA postseason championship tournaments, right? And so Rich Grady, who's our Secretary of Rules editor, and I can, and our teams, we can come up with, here are the best practices, here's how we're going to do it, blah, blah, blah. But if a governing conference says we're going to do it a little differently during the season, that's where we have inconsistencies throughout the country. And so I'm begging anyone to say, let's all do the same thing from minute one until the NCAA tournament versus what we tell you on minute one. And that's going to happen in the NCAA tournament. And then it's kind of, that's not how we did in the regular season. I'm like, we told you in August, this is exactly how it's going to work, right? So I think getting a little, the challenge system helps with that, right? Because it takes the referee, it takes different preferences, instructions to the referees on when to go review, if that makes sense. So I think we're on the right path. And then I also think this and I don't know if this is a massive failure, I'll take responsibility for it, but because I was the one that pushed it, the creation of this video match official, I think over time, once people get over the initial, we can't afford it, we can't do this, we couldn't afford a fourth official way back when too, right? And I think that person is going to help out with not only assisting with the video review, but the video operations.
Yeah.
Because remember, the home team is doing it in a college, where in pro or whatever, that's a neutral body that's running those things, right? So it kind of helps adjudicate so everyone feels that that's being run efficiently as well, right? And listen, that's miles down the road, right? And maybe we never get there, but yeah. And now the other thing that kind of marries into this, just to start changing topics, is Division I level. All Division I games now, men and women, do require a fourth official.
Okay,
that will help.
That's crazy that it didn't.
Well, and that was what we call the permissive rule. And there's still some folks that, it's not that everybody doesn't want the fourth official. Let me start there.
Yeah.
everyone is working within reality, budget constraints, whatever. I want to go to Disney World and take my kid there 5 times a year.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen, right? I think everyone, at least at the Division I level, they made that decision. So by actually having that mandatory 4th official, that will help manage the challenge system, right?
Yeah.
And those kinds of things. So
that's good. No, we certainly don't want to create a situation where we've just got the only way the coach can stop play and review something is just screaming across the field to a referee who's trying to see what's going on with play. So it's a positive thing. And then the other thing, so gosh, well, let's go ahead and transition. I can't believe we talked for 20 plus minutes on VAR, but I find it to be very interesting. We didn't even talk about the technology piece, about that standardization, or is it not standard, whatever. It's a whole other conversation, John.
Sure.
But you did just mention the 4th official. So one thing that the 4th official is normally responsible for at matches is the check and clear, but substitutions. Sure. So substitution rules are now getting a significant overhaul in the NCAA as well. Can you talk through what the changes are for next year?
So it's actually the only, it's not an overhaul as much as so Division I men have their own substitution rules that are separate from everybody else. They can basically sub at any stoppage, right? Mm-hmm. Everyone else said and there's certain times where you can make a substitution for all the other divisions, right? Throw in and things like that, right? All the committee did, I should say, is approve saying, listen, anytime the clock is stopped, even though it's not a time for substitution, we should be able to sub, right? So if a referee is given a yellow card to a player on the other team and the clock is stopped, anyone who wants to come in can now come in because the game is already stopped. Right. Part of the reason for the limiting the times and when you can sub is just because the number of subs that can come in and the clock has to stop. For the majority of the game, the clock runs during a substitution, right? And because the clock's on the board. So this was just simply saying, hey, anytime the clock is stopped, that's a substitutable moment for anybody now. So I think where social media world is confusing at is they're saying, oh, you can sub on any stoppage. No, that's not what it says. It says you can sub anytime the clock is stopped. Those are 2 different things.
Okay, so
it's not a big change, actually.
Okay, so I might be mistaken. Again, excuse me for my poor research on this interview then, but I thought that there were some new updates to the amount of subs that teams could have in a match. Is it still unlimited re-entry, or is it...
No change for the other stuff. Everything. So Division I men, no change. Division I women, Division II and Division III, the only change is when the clock is stopped, that is now a time when you can substitute. That's it. It's really not that big of a change. I think what people are confusing is they confuse you can sub anytime the clock is stopped with you can sub at any stoppage. So if there's a foul in the halfway line and the clock's running, you can't sub on that. And Division I women do it. But if there's a foul at the halfway line and you're giving a caution to another player, that's it. It's really not that one's not as big of a deal, but you can understand just you read those 4 or 5 words quickly or put them not in the right order. Right. And you can, that one's, I think, one of the less, we're not going to spend 20 minutes on that one, right?
All right. Okay, cool. Okay, good. Okay, that clarifies things for that. And that really is not a significant change. It's verbiage. And honestly, it's the type of thing that a good referee was doing anyway, or would do anyway in a normal match. If I've got a stoppage, there's no pressure, restart quickly. Yeah, let's allow this.
But in NCAA, by rule, you can't.
Yeah.
Necessarily. You has to be at certain times and under certain circumstances.
I know it. High school.
This is really more just a commonsensical. Yeah. How come we've never done this?
Okay. So now we're going to get to what I thought we were going to start the conversation with. It's so interesting. Like I thought we were going to have a whole different beginning of this conversation. I thought you were going to talk about the calendar for the NCAA soccer. That seems to me the biggest change, just knowing what the current setup is for soccer. Can you talk to us about what the changes are going to be coming for NCAA soccer next year as it relates to when that game is actually played?
Yeah, happy to do that. But when we're done with that, I'm going to come back to 2 more changes that'll be really interesting to referee on the actual rules. So it's worth just taking a second. Last time we did this, it was before the NCAA changed their governance process or their governance structure for Division I. So just from a generic standpoint, kind of men's basketball and women's basketball had their own governance structure.
Yeah.
and everyone else was under a different governance structure, right? So that's not 100% true, but just for the purpose of our discussion, it'll help make sense. All Division I sports were given the opportunity to govern with an oversight committee. So now men's Division I soccer has an oversight committee. Women's Division I soccer has an oversight committee. Division II and III still have oversight by what they've always had oversight by. This is just Division I. And that's supposed to give more autonomy, more power to the soccer decision makers within the decision makers within that sport. Rich Grady, who is the Secretary of Rules Editor, and myself, we both sit on the men's and the women's, two separate committees. We sit on those committees as non-voting members. And certain conferences, the Power conferences, Power 4 are given spots in that committee. Based on performance, other conferences are given spots in that committee. And most interesting, student athletes are given voting spots in that committee. So they've now empowered student athletes to really have a say into the governance over their sports and whatnot. So on the men's Division I side, for a handful of years, there's been an undercurrent or initiative by certain coaches and folks that felt we need to spread out the season from not just the fall to the fall spring. And the Division I men's committee decided to take up that initiative this year. And after a series of meetings and putting the proposal out, getting comments back from stakeholders and whatnot, that was approved by the Division I men's soccer oversight committee. I don't vote for that. I don't vote, right? But I sit on that. And I have to tell you, whatever your view is on the proposal and the change, I have to tell you, watching the different members of the committee that did a lot of work on this and whatever, it's very thoughtful. It's a very thoughtful document. And I give them a lot of credit for how they put it together and how they're proposing it. The basic concern was, if you were to just take it from a wellness standpoint for the student athlete, you're paying a lot of soccer in a small amount of time in the fall.
Yes.
And what they've done is they basically they've taken the same amount of playing days, practice and games, and spread it over a longer period of time. So it's not more soccer, it's the same amount of soccer, but it's spread out. So you're not going to have players being exposed to a whole bunch of games and practices and crammed in. And many times, if you're a proponent of the system, for the student athlete, it's a survival of the fittest. Who doesn't get hurt, and what kind of team do you have? What's your starting 11 look like in November going to your conference tournament versus in August, right?
Yeah.
And so
we should also say too, you talk about games and you're talking your practices, they are student athletes too.
Yes.
And they're not flying on private jets everywhere. They've got schoolwork, they've got classes they need to attend. They're trying to get degrees at many of these universities. And then you've got travel to go to these games. Some of these teams were playing 2-3 games in a week during the week, and they're traveling Sunday for a Monday game, and then they got a Thursday game, and maybe there's a Saturday game or something of that nature. And so somehow you've got to recover, somehow you've got to train, somehow you've got to do develop these players, whatnot. And then at the end of this season, right? So you start in August, like the girls, I think were starting even before students. They had games before students even get to campus. You're going from August, and then you've got conference tournaments in November throughout Thanksgiving. And then you're playing the College Cup. Like all the major tournaments are happening during finals weeks. These games are traveling. It's crazy what it was.
And the primary driver is for student athlete wellness, right? That's right. And
yes.
And again, same amount of game. I think it's 132 days, but now it's played over fall and spring. The athletes will not come in. They'll start later in August, so they won't be on campus when no one else is on campus. That's a help. You deal with extra costs and things like that. And that's the progress here. You're still going to have the same amount of games. There's minimums and maximums in the fall and the spring. If you feel like you want to play most of your games in the fall, you can do that and play the minimum in the spring, or vice versa. And from that standpoint, this is why I say it was a really thoughtful proposal when you look at all the components on that, right? And so this is a change in playing season, right? So compare that to, hey, we're going to now approve a mandatory fourth official. Approving a mandatory fourth official, that stops and ends with the rules committee and the Division I men's and Division I women's oversight committees. They voted, that's in, done. They want to change the playing season, and literally the championship will now be in the spring. It'll be in May, right? Instead of just November, December.
Wow, it's going to go all the way to May. You're going to go from August to May.
Yeah, and with a break. So you'll start late August, and there'll be a break and then it'll pick it up again in February and go through May. They have very windows of dates you can play and not play and whatever.
Yeah.
The other thing, just think about it. Think about the what I call the coast to coast conferences that have on the
like
West Coast.
Stanford. Yes, Stanford plays in the ACC. They're right.
So they should make it easier when it's spread out versus trying to jam all those trips in the fall. That's the argument for the wellness part of this, right? And so the champion under this proposal, the men's Division I soccer championship will be played at the end of the spring season, and the College Cup will be in May, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's good. The Division I oversight committee said, we've done all this work. This is the research. This is the direction we want to go. They took a vote. They approved it. That's great. The women are not interested in that model. Division I women,
no way.
They're not interested in that model. They are very happy with the model they have currently. And the point of the oversight committees was to kind of give the sports to the creation of these oversight committees to give the sports their autonomy to do what they think is best for their sport. What's best for women's bowling may not be the best thing for men's basketball, right? So that is now approved out of the Division I men's soccer oversight committee. Everyone is getting excited and posting stuff on the internet. That has to go to the legislative cabinet, the Division I legislative cabinet, which is made up of conference commissioners, athletic administrators, student athletes, whatever. And you can go and look up all those people. That will be presented, discussed, reviewed, and voted upon in June. So it's not a done deal yet.
Wait, we're saying this June, next month. And so I just want to clarify. So that this calendar change.
What happened for the fall of 27 would be when it would be implemented. Wouldn't happen for this year.
Okay, so it wouldn't happen anyway in fall of 26 for the men, right?
Yeah.
Even for the men, that still has to be voted on for the men?
Yeah, so the Division I legislative cabinet will meet and vote on that this summer, next month, next month. And the proposal is that this fall spring model would begin for the 27-28 academic year. So it would be next fall. And if that were to pass the legislative cabinet, the men's soccer Division I championship would be in May of 28.
Okay. And you're also saying that the women could decide to go independently and stay with their own the current, just only a fall season.
The Division I Women's Oversight Committee oversees Division I women's soccer. They have not expressed any interest in discussing moving to this model. They're happy. They've made some adjustments to their playing season in the fall, but this would only be a Division I men's soccer event change if approved by the Division I legislative cabinet. That's a lot of words, man. Right. Sorry.
Yeah.
And
okay. So now I want to ask about
the administrators. So with how much this is going to cost, do we have anyone that has concerns will bring it up, and that will be part of the discussion and whatnot. But the soccer people, the oversight committee for Division I soccer, they have approved this, and they have asked for this legislative change in their playing season.
Okay.
I hope that makes sense.
Listen, so I think for the men, I think it's a wonderful thing from a quality of life and just to be a student athlete. I just want to say that, for all of the rosters, and I know rosters are getting smaller too, but there's a lot of international players coming in. John, the best of my knowledge, has there been a change in the amount of scholarships for a men's D1 roster? Like last I checked, I thought it was only 9.5 full rides for a scholarship roster.
I don't think there's been a change, but NIL is NIL.
So they've got the people who make up that 20 people who are on a roster or 24, whatever on a roster, there are a lot of those kids who are not getting any money or a very minimal amount of money to play soccer in college at these D1 programs. And I get concerned about these kids who are just giving their entire life to being on a squad, may not ever get on the field or rarely get on the field. And then they also don't have a normal college experience, and they don't have time to study and really go after challenging degrees because they have such little time to focus on that kind of stuff. At least this gives them some quality of life, gives them the opportunity to come home for a vacation to see their family before Thanksgiving or for the holidays or something like that. It gives them some time to recover and gives them some time to focus on being a college student and actually get a degree. So I'm a big fan of this change. I think it's wonderful. The question I want to ask you now is, how is this going to change the life of a college soccer official? Yeah. So it used to be they were busy in the fall, but they could do other things in the spring or other types of officiating in the spring. But now we've got refs who could literally be doing college soccer pretty much almost all year, because there's not a lot of games in January or February here in the United States. but now they're doing college soccer all year long. How does that change their development, training, the recruiting, the life of a college referee or an NCAA official works for NSOA or ECSR or whatever that is?
Yeah. So to be determined.
We're still a year away at least, right? Yeah.
Well, we're a month away from this even being a thing, right?
True.
We could talk in July or August and be like, all right, that was premature. It hasn't been approved. At the end of it, so my job on that committee is to give advice and chime in when it comes to officiating, specifically NCAA tournament. From an NCAA championship standpoint, no problem. We'll still get the best referees and all those kinds of things. Now, just from what I would call a workload on officials, it's the same, right? Like we're jamming all that work in 3 months. You got what I would call the professional college referees or pick a sport, right? And they're going to be doing a game on Thursday and Friday and Saturday and Sunday.
Right.
That's arguably too much in my opinion, right? At least for soccer officials with our fitness and movement components, and arguably refereeing soccer is the worst thing you can do to your body, right? It's not like going for a nice run or any of those kinds of things, right? So I do think I think it'll be a good thing for the officials because I think it should help lessen the load. And you might have some people that work primarily in Division I, maybe start to help out in Division II and III. Because again, if everyone's going to play on Saturday once a week in men's soccer, you're just going to do one game.
Great point. So John, that is such an interesting point. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
If you've got a longer system now or a longer season,
everyone's going to play. They're going to play once a week.
You don't have to play on Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night every single week or Thursday night. Now you can put your games on Friday night or Saturday where you can actually get spectators.
That's it. It's not a Wednesday, Saturday or one of those kinds of things. So it depends on the conferences you work for. If you're working at the Division I men's level, I think it'll extend the life of some referees or the quality of their refereeing life without that extra workload. I think it could potentially help the other divisions. Maybe you're working a Wednesday Division II or Division III game and a Saturday Division I men's game or whatever it is, or a Division I women's game on a Wednesday or whatever. So because we have such crossover amongst all our divisions and whatnot. So
I think it's going to open up your pool more.
Yes.
Because that's the thing. It's the challenge I was talking at the beginning of the pod about a high school referee. You got to be able to leave your house or leave your work at 3:00 to make it to a 4:30 kickoff. Those midweek games, like here in Georgia, we don't have a lot of Division I soccer programs or Division II or Division III, whatever. This is not a lot because there's college football is the big thing here. But if you're going to do a midweek game that starts at 7 p.m. and it's a 2-hour drive away or an hour and a half or 2 hours of traffic, and you got to be there an hour and a half in advance, you got to have a job or the flexibility in a job. You can leave at noon or 1 p.m. to be able to make that for that full crew. Now, if you've got more games that are going to be happening on a Friday night or a Saturday or a Sunday, now there's all sorts of other people who might be available to start working these matches.
The other thing too, at the collegiate level, pick a sport, men's basketball, and we even have it in soccer, right? Your top officials, they're getting on airplanes. So they're not only working, they're not only working Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Absolutely.
They're jumping on airplanes and then working the game and then jumping in another airplane and whatever.
Yes.
So when I say this could extend your referee life, you're not killing your body, right? And so I think the point you made is the most important one. And for me, I've always felt that our job as administrators, mentors, whatever, insert your title here, that when you're not refereeing, but you're part of the referee family, right? When you're not in a referee role, our job is to help people to get opportunities. I think I'm hopeful that this will open up more opportunities for more referees. Yeah. In the greater scheme, I think you'll see more. I think this will naturally add for more collaboration and continuity with U.S. Soccer and NCAA, which we have such a great collaboration, in my opinion anyway. You should ask Carrie if she agrees, between us and the pool of officials that are working and on both sides of the fence, right? And our job is to really support people and make sure they're getting the opportunities or earning the opportunities and being given them the ones that they earn. And I think you've heard me joke before, and this in all sincerity, I view the referee program as one big program. I don't care which organization. If you came to me and said, listen, I want to be the best junior varsity middle school referee in the planet, our job as a mentor or coach or administrator is to say, all right, how can we help you do that? And this is why I think going back to the original conversation about people like, I want to be the best high school referee in great. What can we do to help you do that? Right? Because it's the system. It's the system that really pushes people to the top. But the World Cup referees that are representing our country do not exist without the system of support and throughout. So
Right.
this is why we always say we're always representing the program.
Yes.
Every time you step out on the field at any level, right?
I want to talk just a little brief about that, and we'll start bringing this to a close. You talk about the system, the bigger system, like these changes that are coming to the NCAA. Like from what I understand, U.S. Soccer had a part to play in these discussions and kind of guiding it. And I know JT Batson, I guess the CEO of U.S. Soccer, made comments about these new changes coming. What's U.S. Soccer? How are they trying to see this? What's their goal of kind of these changes that are coming to NCAA from a player standpoint and potentially player development standpoint, but maybe also referee development standpoint? What's U.S. Soccer's input on that? Where are they trying to take it?
I don't want to speak for U.S. Soccer, at least today. I'm not. There's a committee that was put together with a whole bunch of stakeholders on U.S. Soccer and college athletics and all that a while ago. And there's a white paper put together with recommendations and all of those things. And this spring is one of those recommendations, right? So if there were 10 recommendations in there, this is the one that I think was important, at least for the men's oversight committee to get on the board now. And if there are other collaborations that happen in the future, then that would be just fine. And I will tell you, U.S. Soccer, from all the press releases I'm reading, they're cheering this decision by their cheerleaders. They're like, this is great. How can we help? A deal. And I think that's great. Part of that white paper was talking about interaction on the refereeing and officiating side, and wasn't involved in that white paper. And I'm not sure whatever. But the reality is, today, the only thing that happens out of that white paper today is the collaboration between NCAA and U.S. Soccer.
Right.
Because every member of the NCAA soccer staff, officiating staff, we're all involved in U.S. Soccer in one capacity or another at a pretty high level too, right? It's not like we're just like, I assign a local rec league. It's national referee coaches, people on the referee committee, national referee assigners, state referee chairman, regional administrators for USY. Every one of us is ingrained. And even I have to say, Carrie has been on the job, I think 2 years now. And she's been great to collaborate with. And then Matt Cheeseman was brought in for operations. And then Nathan McGill, director of referee development, work closely with those guys all the time. And because, like I said, for me, I gave Nathan, like when he started, like, hey, welcome to the U.S. It's one big program. Don't let anybody tell you any different. Like, it's the people that make it work, right? The organizations get in the way, right? Yeah. I'm like, whatever you need. They're like, oh, you're going to go to the West Virginia State Cup tournament. Okay, well, I'm wearing a U.S. Soccer shirt this week. Yeah. Great. Okay. All
right. So now I've got one final question for you. We'll bring it to a close. Okay, the clock, brother. The clock. You got these high-level referees. We've got VAR. You've got international players coming on in, playing. My gosh, some rosters, it's like literally United Nations of players from like Ghana and Portugal and Brazil. It's amazing. Okay, why do we still have a countdown clock as opposed to a running clock counting up as it is in most of global football?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's a cultural thing, primarily a cultural thing, because any of the time sports in NCAA, show me one time sport that doesn't have the clock, the official clock on the board. It's more of a spectator sports entertainment thing. You can get into your conspiracy theories on whether coaches don't trust the refs to keep the time or add the right time or whatever. I will tell you, every 2 years in the rule change cycle, the significant rule change cycle, I should say, there's always proposals to change it. And there's never enough force or never enough for the people that vote on these things, which I do not vote, will make the change. I would absolutely support that. But I will say this, if you were, I started refereeing college soccer in 1993. So get your time machine out, right? I started back in the day where we would see the same tackle and we would say, that is a red card in U.S. Soccer and IFAB, and that is a yellow card in college.
Yeah.
Because our job as college referees are to keep everybody in the game and keep the coaches happy. That was the culture way back then. I am very proud to say that the two games have never been closer together. So I'm like, IFAB will never card coaches, right? Because that was the other one, right? Carding coaches and the clock, right? We're carding coaches in Tampa the last however many years now, right? So we are as close together as we've ever been. I think from the core playing tenets, that won't change. I don't think what doesn't help your point, David, is when we watch the World Cup this summer and there's going to be 8 to 12 at a time.
It might be 20. Who knows?
Because they keep that very precision now, right?
Yeah.
I will say, I think the games are really close together. And I'm just very proud that we're not back when I started. And it was like literally refereeing 2 different games, you know?
Completely.
And I'll give you an example. The 8-second goalkeeper rule.
Yeah.
So that was on in college soccer last year.
Right.
And so we've adopted that.
Okay.
Right. So that's an important one that's in, right? So now we will see some consistency with IFAB and whatever. We typically follow the pros when those kind of changes come in. So those were not made in the pros last year for the most part because of the timing of the season. That'll change once MLS goes to the fall spring, by the way. The other one thing I just want to slip in that's really important and I'm really happy about, I'm happy for the referees. I am not happy for me. Is in college soccer, we have this concept of a red card for violent behavior 1, violent behavior 2, or fighting. You have to notify them at the time, and it's a different suspension model, right?
Yeah.
We have finally, I will take credit along with my partner, Rich Ferretti. The committees were very supportive. We've eliminated that now. So a red card for violent behavior is a red card, and now there will be a committee that determines whether that's a VB1, a VB2, or a fighting after reading the report and watching the video. So I'm happy for our referees. I feel like I'm going to be on that committee, so I'm not happy for me. So I think we'll be reviewing a lot of that, but that would be really good for the referees because they have so much going on during the game. They don't need to be judge and jury and execution.
I know.
So that's a really important one. And we talked about the optional video match official. I don't think that'll be used at all. And here's one more to leave you with. This is the one I thought you were going to be excited about. Caution, bench decorum. Just like other leagues, in NCAA soccer, there's a yellow card count, right? Once you get to 5 yellow cards, you were suspended for a game. Coach or player. And we've never had a team yellow card. The yellow card has to go to someone, a player, a substitute, or a member of the team area, right? We've adopted Part A, IFAB, if you can't identify who the troublemaker is, the yellow card goes to the head coach.
That's right.
So that's good. But here's the other thing. Because in college soccer, we have a little bit of a different issue because we don't have here's the difference. In IFAB, one coach at a time giving tactical instruction. We don't have that in college. We have lots of assistants running around and doing things. So assistant coach number 2 gets a yellow card. He gets his accumulation for 5, whatever. That has changed now. If you are anyone that's not a player or a substitute, assistant coach, team chaplain, trainer on the bench, that person gets a yellow card. In the game, it still goes to the trainer or the assistant coach number 2. But when we tally it up, it goes against the head coach.
Oh, wow.
So now the head coach has more of a responsibility or more of a alignment of interest to make sure their people behave.
Right.
Because if they get a caution, it gets tagged to him or her.
Yeah.
And so that's a real major cultural thing, I think, arguably, that I really hope the coaches and assistants are paying attention to, because you're going to see a lot of coaches get really mad at their assistants if they get a caution.
In high school, and I'm sure you're aware, when I card an assistant, I also have to show the card to the coach. So coach gets that card at the same time. Because again, it's their responsibility to manage the bench. And that's actually, it's been a nice thing for me. If I do see an assistant or someone on the bench acting up, I can always just make eye contact. I know who that person is. And I go, Coach, they're your responsibility. You'll get the card. Please deal with it. And they do. It's like, this makes it easy for me.
Well, so there's plenty of coaches that are, that person is a real nice person. I'm like, but they let their assistants, their yellow cream the whole game, right? That's not my accent.
The attack dog is the assistant.
So I think, and I have to tell you, the driver of that in our meetings was not the officials. It was not me, and it was not Rich Grady. It was not the official that's on the committee. The coaches, they're the ones that they're like, we got to get this under control. This is too much. And so basically accountability for behavior on non-players and non-substitutes falls to the head coach. So again, I'll give you the example and then I'll let it be. You have a game, the head coach gets a yellow card, assistant coach number 2 gets a yellow card on the same team. For the accumulation on the head coach, he gets 2 yellow cards towards his 5. That will add up.
Yeah.
And that'll become a problem when a head coach is missing a big game because
Absolutely.
he or she's been suspended and he or she has only gotten 1 yellow card out of the 5. So we're hopeful that people are really being thoughtful about this.
Yeah.
We've tried, I will tell you just from the things that we can do on the officiating and the rules side, we've tried everything we can do to get this behavior under control. But at the end of the day, they're going to have to decide, take accountability for that type of behavior. And I'm hoping that this sorts out pretty quick.
I love it, man. Awesome. John, thank you so much for the insights and updates today. Again, I think it's a positive change. I hope the women's game, if they see success with the men's change of the season, that they'll make a change too. Again, I'm all about the player welfare. And then again, more opportunities for officials to grow and develop, especially if maybe we see a video review official in the college game too. That would be awesome, John. Sincerely, I hope we get to connect too. Actually, are you going to any World Cup games? Are you going to any Boston games? What's going on?
It depends on whether the ticket prices come. Waiting for the courses. I think they're starting to come down now.
They will.
But
sure.
I would love to go. That's another whole other podcast. Maybe I'm not the right guy. I'm all for capitalism except for the World Cup tickets.
I know you. I know it.
Critical of me, but yeah.
Awesome, brother. I hope we get to cross paths again soon, guys. If you don't know John or you have not met John, he is larger than life. He is a wonderful man. He just exudes just unbelievably fabulous energy, and he's such a great person to be around. So, John, sincerely, man, I hope we get to hang out again soon. Thank you so much for coming on the pod today.
Hey, thanks for having me. Anytime we can help, let us know, and I'll reach out when we have some clarity about the stuff that's going on in the summer. We'll see.
Awesome, man. Thanks so much.
All right, take care.